There is a man who once ruled the entire known world. He commanded armies. He governed millions. He held more power in his hands than almost any human being in the history of civilization. And yet, when he sat down alone at the end of each day, he did not write about conquest. He did not write about wealth. He did not write about the admiration of the crowds who bowed before him. He wrote about how to be better, how to be calmer, how to suffer well, how to serve others, how to keep his soul clean in a world constantly trying to corrupt it. That man was Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor from 161 to 180 AD, a philosopher king in the truest sense of the word. And the private journal he kept, never intended for any eyes but his own, became one of the most read books in human history. We call it the Meditations. What makes Marcus so remarkable is not that he had perfect answers. What makes him remarkable is that he asked the right questions. Every single day, am I living well? Am I thinking clearly? Am I responding to difficulty with reason or with fear? These questions were not academic. Marcus faced war, plague, betrayal, the deaths of his children, political corruption, and the weight of an empire on his shoulders. He was not a man writing philosophy from a comfortable chair. He was a man in the mud of life, trying to hold himself together using the tools of Stoic philosophy. And here is what matters to you today. Those tools still work. The insights Marcus wrote down nearly 2,000 years ago are not relics of an ancient world. They are maps for navigating the chaos of being human, for dealing with anxiety, for responding to people who hurt you, for finding meaning in ordinary days, for becoming someone you respect when you look in the mirror. In this video, we walk through 7 of Marcus Aurelius' most powerful teachings. 7 ways you can apply Stoic philosophy to improve your life right now, not someday, not when conditions are better, right now, with the life you have, exactly as it is. Let us begin. If there is a single idea at the heart of Stoicism, it is this one. Marcus Aurelius wrote in the Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Read that again. You have power over your mind, not outside events. This is not a passive statement. This is Marcus drawing a precise line between 2 categories of things in your life. On one side, everything that falls within your control. On the other, everything that does not. What falls within your control? Your thoughts, your reactions, your values, your effort, your interpretation of events, your choices about how to behave and who to be. These things belong to you completely. No one can take them away. What falls outside your control? Other people's behavior, the weather, whether your work is recognized, whether the economy goes up or down, whether people like you, whether fate decides to deal you a difficult hand. These things are not yours. They never were. Suffering arises when we pretend otherwise. Here is where most people spend their energy, obsessing over the things they cannot control. They lie awake at 3 in the morning replaying what someone said about them. They exhaust themselves trying to manage other people's opinions. They rage against circumstances that were never theirs to change. And all of that energy disappears into the void. It produces nothing. It changes nothing. It only exhausts you. Marcus watched people around him scramble for things outside their control. Reputation, favor, immortality in the eyes of others. He watched them tie themselves in knots over shadows. And he turned inward and asked, "What am I doing with my own energy?" The practical application is profound in its simplicity. When something is bothering you today, ask yourself one question. Is this something I can control? If yes, act. Do the thing. Bring your full energy to bear on the problem. If no, release it. Not because you are weak, but because clinging to what you cannot control is a form of madness. It is like gripping sand. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it escapes. Today, take stock of where your attention is living. For each concern, ask, can I do something about this? If yes, do it. If no, practice the liberating act of letting it go. This one shift, practiced consistently, will change your life more than almost anything else. You are not the emperor of the world, but you are the emperor of your own mind. Rule it wisely. Marcus Aurelius did not have an easy life. Think about that. The most powerful man on earth, a man who could command any comfort he desired, faced relentless adversity. The Antonine Plague killed millions under his watch. He fought near constant military campaigns. He dealt with a son who would become one of history's most destructive rulers and political enemies who conspired against him at every turn. And Marcus wrote this: "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is one of the most radical ideas in all of philosophy. Not that obstacles are something to endure before you get to the good part, but that the obstacle itself, approached correctly, is the path forward. The resistance is the teacher. The difficulty is the development. We live in a culture that wants to remove all friction. We want the easy path, the shortcut, the life hack that means we never have to struggle. But consider what difficulty actually gives you. Every challenge you have overcome has made you more capable. Every painful relationship has taught you something about who you are. Every failure has given you information that success never could have provided. The person you most respect became admirable precisely because things were hard and they kept going anyway. Marcus was deliberate about seeking discomfort as a practice. He slept on hard beds despite having access to the finest in the world. He ate simple food. He trained in the cold. Not because he was punishing himself, but because he understood that comfort softens you. And a soft person breaks easily when life gets hard, and life always gets hard eventually. The Stoics called this voluntary hardship. You choose small discomforts deliberately so that you build the inner strength to handle the involuntary hardships life inevitably delivers. Think about the thing you have been avoiding because it is hard. The difficult conversation, the project that requires enormous effort, the habit change that feels like climbing a mountain, the creative work that terrifies you because it might fail. You have been treating that difficulty as evidence that you should stop. Marcus Aurelius would suggest that the difficulty is precisely why you should continue. When you reframe obstacles as the curriculum designed for your growth, something shifts. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" The impediment becomes the way. That is not a cliché. That is a hard-won truth from a man who proved it with his entire life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." The Roman emperor, 2,000 years before mindfulness became a modern trend, was teaching the same core insight that every wisdom tradition in history has arrived at independently. The past is gone. You cannot retrieve it, undo it, or relive it. Every second you spend mentally inhabiting the past is a second stolen from the only moment where your life actually exists. The future has not arrived. It may never arrive in the form you imagine. Every minute you spend catastrophizing about tomorrow is a minute you have abandoned today. There is only now. There has only ever been now. Marcus watched people around him live entirely in abstraction, pining for past glory, anxious about future threats, so absorbed in imaginary worlds that they were barely present for the actual life unfolding in front of them. He saw the tragedy in this, and he constantly pulled himself back, in his private writing, to the discipline of presence. Notice what you are doing right now, not what you did yesterday, not what you will do tomorrow, not what you should have done differently 3 years ago. Right now. Where is your attention? Is it here, or is it somewhere else? The Stoics taught that most suffering is not caused by things actually happening to us. It is caused by our thoughts about things that have already happened or might happen. We replay conversations in our heads. We imagine worst-case scenarios that almost never materialize. We compare our present reality to some idealized past or theoretical future, and we find the present wanting. Marcus's solution was radical simplicity. Just do the next right thing. Just be here. Just engage fully with what is directly in front of you. There is a profound relief in this. When you are fully present, you are not managing 1,000 different timelines in your mind. You are just doing this thing right now. Making this meal, having this conversation, working on this task, being with this person. The weight of past and future falls away. There is only the extraordinary fact of being alive in this particular moment. The Stoics also used what they called negative visualization to intensify appreciation of the present. Marcus practiced imagining the loss of things he valued, not to depress himself, but to feel the full weight of gratitude for what he had while he had it. Because nothing lasts. That is not pessimism. That is the truth. And the truth, held clearly, makes ordinary things luminous. Today, practice the smallest version of this. For the next 5 minutes, do whatever you are doing completely. If you are drinking coffee, just drink the coffee. If you are talking to someone, just listen. See what happens when you stop splitting your attention between now and everywhere else. The present moment is where your life actually lives. Start living there. Marcus Aurelius did not flatter himself. This is perhaps the most striking thing about the Meditations. Here is one of the most powerful people in history, writing privately, with no audience to perform for, and he is ruthlessly, relentlessly honest about his flaws. He admits to laziness. He catches himself being vain. He notices when his reasoning is motivated by desire rather than truth. He sees himself clearly, and he does not look away from what he sees. He wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Radical honesty with yourself is extraordinarily rare, and it is extraordinarily powerful. Most of us have developed sophisticated internal systems for avoiding the truth about ourselves. We rationalize. We blame others. We revise our memories to cast ourselves in a more flattering light. We avoid feedback that might contradict our preferred self-image. We surround ourselves with people who tell us what we want to hear rather than what we need to hear. All of this feels protective, but it is actually devastating because you cannot fix what you refuse to see. You cannot grow beyond an image of yourself. You're too afraid to examine. The gap between who you think you are and who you actually are is where your problems live. Marcus understood that clarity about the self, including its ugliest parts, is not an act of self-cruelty. It's an act of deep respect for your own potential. You take yourself seriously enough to see yourself accurately. There is a Stoic practice called the evening review. At the end of each day, you sit quietly and examine your behavior. Not to punish yourself, but to see clearly. Ask, where did I fall short today? Where did I let fear make a decision instead of reason? Where did I seek comfort when I should have sought truth? Where did I treat someone with less dignity than they deserved? And equally, where did I do well? Where did I act in alignment with my values? This practice, done consistently, reveals patterns you cannot see any other way. The same mistakes keep appearing because you keep avoiding them. The evening review makes what is invisible visible. The hardest part of radical self-honesty is separating your behavior from your worth. Marcus never concluded from his mistakes that he was irredeemable. He noted the mistake, understood it, corrected course, and moved forward. Self-honesty without self-compassion becomes self-destruction. Self-compassion without self-honesty becomes self-delusion. You need both. Start today. Pick one area of your life where you know, underneath all your rationalizations, that you are not being straight with yourself. Name it. Look at it directly. That moment of clear seeing is the beginning of change. Marcus Aurelius wrote with ferocious honesty in a journal never intended for any audience. He held himself to a standard not for applause, but for its own sake, for the sake of becoming who he knew he should be. You deserve that same honesty. Of all the virtues Marcus Aurelius practiced, his commitment to human dignity stands out as especially remarkable given his position. He wrote, "We are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of the upper and lower teeth, and what injures the hive injures the bee." And perhaps most profoundly, he wrote about how each morning he reminded himself that he would encounter difficult, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful people that day, and that he had chosen in advance to respond to them not with contempt, but with the understanding that they were his kinsmen, part of the same human family, and that no one among them could truly harm his character unless he allowed it. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor who could have had anyone removed from his presence with a single word, was reminding himself daily to see difficult people with compassion rather than contempt. The Stoics believed that human beings are by nature social creatures. We are not meant to be isolated. We are not meant to be purely self-serving. Our purpose is bound up with service to others, with contributing to the whole, with playing our part in the larger project of humanity. This is not soft sentiment. Marcus was not naive. He dealt with some of the most corrupt and dangerous people imaginable. He was not saying that bad behavior should face no consequences. He was saying that his own inner response would remain grounded in wisdom rather than hatred, because hatred corrupts the person who feels it far more than it damages the person it is directed at. You will encounter difficult people, people who are selfish, rude, thoughtless, or actively harmful. People who undermine you, take credit for your work, or treat you with casual disrespect. This is guaranteed. It is part of being human among humans. The Stoic question is, how will you respond? Not, should you be a doormat? No. Not, should you tolerate abuse? No. But can you respond from a place of groundedness rather than reactivity? Can you maintain your own dignity while extending basic respect to others, even when they have not earned it with their behavior? Can you serve and contribute while holding your own values firmly? Think today about the people in your life you find most difficult. Instead of focusing on what they owe you or how they have failed you, ask, what is my responsibility in this relationship? How can I act with greater patience and humanity, not because they deserve it from me, but because I deserve it from myself? People who have internalized this teaching move through the world differently. They are not unaffected by difficult people, but they are not controlled by them either. They serve from a place of strength, not need. Cooperation is in our nature. The Stoics knew it. Marcus lived it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly." And you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. The ancient Stoics practiced what they called memento mori. Remember that you will die. This was not a morbid exercise in despair. It was one of the most life-affirming practices in their entire philosophy. Here is the logic. If you truly internalize the fact that your time here is limited, not just intellectually but in your bones, how would that change what you do today? You would probably stop spending energy on things that do not matter. The petty argument, the obsessive monitoring of what others think of you, the hours lost to distraction, the grudge carried for years against someone who has probably forgotten the original offense. All of that would fall away if you could really feel, that your time is precious and finite. And you would probably start doing the things you have been postponing. The relationship you have been meaning to repair. The work that feels meaningful. The creative project filed away under someday. The honest conversation you have been afraid to have. The kindness you keep intending to express but have not gotten around to. We live as though we have unlimited time. We do not. Marcus knew this with unusual clarity because he watched people die constantly, from war, from plague, from the ordinary unpredictability of ancient life. He did not have the option of pretending he was exempt from mortality. You might feel more insulated from that reality. But you are not exempt either. The Stoic use of memento mori is not about becoming fearful of death. It is about using awareness of death to clarify life. When you know the clock is running, you stop wasting time. Ordinary moments reveal their real value. The morning light, a conversation with someone you love, the quiet satisfaction of work done well. These become extraordinary when you stop treating them as permanent. There is a related practice Marcus used called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. He would rehearse in his mind the loss of things he valued, not to make himself miserable, but to appreciate them more deeply while he had them, and to prepare himself emotionally so that when loss came, as it always does, he would not be blindsided and destroyed by it. Today, spend a few minutes with this. Imagine you have 1 year left. What would you stop doing? What would you start? Who would you call? What would you say? What matters, really, when the noise falls away? You do not have to wait for a crisis to live with that kind of clarity. Marcus Aurelius is handing you the invitation right now. Take what is left of your life and live it properly. We have arrived at the deepest teaching, the one that holds all the others together. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." For the Stoics, virtue was not one good thing among many. It was the only unconditional good. Everything else, wealth, health, reputation, pleasure, even life itself, was what they called preferred indifferent, meaning these things are generally preferable to their opposites, but they are not the foundation of a good life. The foundation of a good life is virtue, character, excellence in the truest sense. The 4 Stoic virtues were wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Wisdom, the ability to see things clearly and reason well. Courage, the willingness to do what is right regardless of fear. Justice, treating others with fairness and serving the common good. Temperance, the discipline to regulate your desires and impulses. Marcus returned to these four virtues constantly. They were his compass in a world that was always offering substitute goods, power, pleasure, approval, comfort. He always came back to the same question: what does virtue require here? Here is what makes virtue as your North Star so powerful in practical terms. When your goal is external, wealth, success, approval, pleasure, you are always at the mercy of forces outside your control. You might get the thing. You might not. Even if you do, it might not feel the way you expected. And you are always anxious about losing it once you have it. External goals create a kind of permanent insecurity. But when your goal is internal, to act with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance in whatever situation you face, you can achieve it in every single moment. You do not need perfect circumstances. You do not need luck. You do not need other people's approval. You just need to make the next right choice. That is completely within your power right now, regardless of what is happening around you. This reorientation from external goals to internal character is the deepest transformation Stoic philosophy offers. Marcus was surrounded by people who would tell him anything he wanted to hear. He could have used his power to construct any reality he desired. Instead, he kept returning to the meditations, holding himself to the standard of virtue, because being a good emperor required first being a good human being. And that required constant, honest, humble effort. Virtue is not a destination you arrive at. It is a direction you orient yourself toward, every day, in every choice. Some days you fall short. Some days you surprise yourself. The practice is in the returning, in noticing when you have drifted and redirecting. If your life is brief and the universe is vast, then the only thing that truly matters is how you conduct yourself in the time you have. Not what you accumulate, not what you achieve in the eyes of the world, but the quality of your character, expressed in the choices you make, day after day, in the ordinary moments that make up a life. Be good. Act with courage. Treat others fairly. Rule your own mind. That is everything. That is enough. Let us bring all 7 of these teachings together. First, control what you can control, your mind, your reactions, your values, and release everything else. This is the bedrock. Without it, the other 6 are nearly impossible to practice. Second, embrace difficulty as your teacher. Stop running from obstacles. Turn toward them. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Third, live fully in the present moment. The past is gone, the future is imagined. Your life is happening right now, be here for it. Fourth, practice radical honesty with yourself. See yourself clearly, not to punish yourself, but to grow beyond who you currently are. You cannot become your best self while lying to yourself about your actual self. Fifth, treat every person with dignity and service. We are made for cooperation. Your relationships, even the difficult ones, are the arena where your character is built. Sixth, remember your mortality and let it wake you up. Your time is limited and precious. Use the awareness of that fact, not to create fear, but to create clarity about what actually matters. Seventh, commit to virtue as your only true north. When wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance become your guiding stars, you become immune to the anxiety of chasing things outside your control. The good life is available to you in every moment, not as something to achieve, but as something to choose. Marcus Aurelius was not a perfect man. He would be the first to tell you so. He told himself so in his private journal repeatedly and honestly, but he was a man who tried. Every day he picked up these tools and applied them to the raw material of his life. He failed sometimes. He got back up. He tried again. That is all Stoicism asks of you. Not perfection, not invulnerability, not immunity to pain or loss or difficulty, just the willingness to try, to keep reaching toward wisdom, to keep choosing virtue, to keep returning, day after day, to the practice of living well. Nearly 2,000 years ago, A man sat alone and wrote private notes to himself about how to be better. He could not have imagined that we would be reading those notes today. He could not have imagined that his private struggle, so similar to your private struggle, would span centuries and reach you exactly when you needed it. But here you are. And here is Marcus, speaking across time. Take what is left of your life and live it properly. Start today. Start now. Start with the very next choice you make. That is all, and that is everything.